The number one secret to taking control of your life begins in a place most people never stop to examine: the quiet, unseen world inside their own mind. Every day, thousands of thoughts pass through your head, and without realizing it, you allow many of them to guide your emotions, decisions, and behaviors. But the truth is that life does not change when circumstances change, it changes when your internal meaning, interpretation, and emotional response change. The moment you decide to shift from reacting to directing, from drifting to choosing, your life begins to move in a completely different direction. Yet most people wake up each morning driven by habits they never designed, patterns they never questioned, and self-definitions they never consciously selected. To take control of your life, you must first take control of these invisible forces. It's not about becoming fearless but about learning how to act even when fear whispers reasons to stop. It's not about making every situation perfect but about mastering the inner lens through which you perceive those situations. That lens, your story, your state, your standards, determines everything. And once you learn to shape it intentionally, you move from feeling like life is happening to you to realizing life is responding to you. This shift is the foundational secret that leaders, achievers, and fulfilled people rely on, even when the world around them feels uncertain or overwhelming. Control begins with recognizing the stories you tell yourself, because those stories quietly shape your identity, and your identity shapes your destiny. If someone believes they're unlucky, they act half-heartedly, avoid risks, and interpret setbacks as proof of their belief. If someone believes they're resourceful, capable, and adaptable, they find ways to rise even when circumstances push them down. Most people never take the time to rewrite these stories, so their past keeps dictating their future. But when you step back and observe your inner narrative, why you think you can, why you think you can't, why you believe certain things are for you or beyond you, you reclaim power. You begin to understand that your past experiences were chapters, not definitions. The moment you tell yourself a new story, a more empowering interpretation, your emotions shift, and when emotions shift, actions follow. Think about how many decisions are driven not by reality but by the meaning you attach to reality. A bad day becomes a ruined week because of the story you attach. A rejection becomes personal failure because of the story you attach. But when you take control of that meaning and choose a story that strengthens you, you stop being a prisoner of circumstance and become the author of your direction. This is the quiet transformation that begins inside long before it shows outside. Another part of taking control is mastering your emotional state, because your state determines your behavior far more than your goals or intentions ever will. You can have plans, dreams, and ambitions, but if your emotional state is stressed, fearful, exhausted, or overwhelmed, you won't act in alignment with those goals. On the other hand, when your state is confident, energized, grateful, and focused, even ordinary actions become powerful steps forward. Yet very few people are taught how to manage or shift their state intentionally. Most let it be determined by external forces, traffic, people, money, uncertainty, opinions. But you become powerful the moment you realize you can shift your state on command through movement, breath, focus, and language. That is the point at which life no longer tosses you around emotionally. Instead, you stabilize yourself like a captain steering a ship through unpredictable waters. Emotional control doesn't mean ignoring negative feelings, it means not letting them dictate your path. It means learning to pause, breathe, reframe, and act from clarity rather than reaction. When you master your state, challenges shrink, opportunities expand, and forward motion becomes natural instead of forced. This emotional discipline is the foundation behind every change you want to make. But taking control also requires raising your standards, because your life is always a reflection of the minimum you're willing to accept. When someone's standard is survival, they'll do the bare minimum. When someone's standard is excellence, they will find a way to elevate themselves no matter how difficult the path feels. Standards influence not only your behavior but also the people you allow into your life, the habits you tolerate, and the boundaries you set. Many people think they lack discipline or motivation, but what they actually lack are higher standards. When you raise the standards of what you demand from yourself, your work ethic, your attitude, your self-talk, your boundaries, you don't have to push yourself as hard because your new normal pulls you upward. Your brain begins to reorganize around this new identity, and suddenly actions that used to feel difficult become automatic. Once you elevate your standards, even if your external life hasn't changed yet, your inner compass shifts. And from that shift, new behaviors arise, better choices, healthier habits, stronger boundaries, and a clearer sense of direction. This is how internal transformation becomes external transformation, not through force but through identity-aligned behavior. Another crucial piece of taking control of your life is understanding that decisions shape destiny far more than conditions do. Every major change in your life began with a single decision, a moment when you said enough is enough, or I'm doing this no matter what, or I refuse to keep living this way. Yet many people wait for the right time, the perfect conditions, or absolute clarity before making decisions. But control is taken in the moments of uncertainty, not clarity. Growth always begins where comfort ends. When you learn to make powerful decisions fast, aligned decisions, you move life forward instead of letting it drag you. A decision can end a habit, begin a dream, repair a relationship, or break a cycle. A decision can open doors that fear had closed for years. But decisions must be backed by consistent action, because action turns possibility into reality. Taking control means deciding who you want to be, what you want to stand for, what you will no longer tolerate, and what you are committed to pursuing regardless of temporary discomfort. This ability, more than talent or opportunity, is what separates people who change their life from those who simply wish for change. Taking control also demands radical responsibility, accepting full ownership of your actions, emotions, habits, and outcomes. This doesn't mean blaming yourself for things beyond your control. It means refusing to hand away your power by waiting for someone else to rescue you or validate you. When you blame circumstances, people, or your past, you give those things authority over your future. But when you take responsibility, you reclaim the steering wheel. You begin to ask different questions. What can I do? What can I change? What can I learn? How can I grow? Responsibility transforms you from a passenger in life to a driver. It makes you proactive instead of reactive. It expands your sense of agency. And most importantly, it reawakens your belief that improvement is possible because you're the one directing the process. The more responsibility you take, the more control you gain, not just externally but mentally and emotionally. You stop waiting for permission, approval, or perfect timing. You start shaping outcomes intentionally, step by step. This mindset turns ordinary people into leaders of their own lives. Another essential part of taking control is learning to break the invisible patterns that keep you stuck. Everyone has habits, mental habits, emotional habits, behavioral habits that run automatically. These patterns are often rooted in old experiences, beliefs, or fears. They silently repeat the same cycles: procrastination, overthinking, self-doubt, anger, anxiety, avoidance. To break these cycles, you must become conscious of them. You must observe when they show up and replace them with patterns that support your growth. This requires consistency, awareness, and the courage to interrupt old behavior before it pushes you down the same road again. The moment you interrupt a pattern, you open space for a new one, and every time you repeat the new pattern, you strengthen it. Over time, the patterns that held you back lose power, and the patterns that move you forward become second nature. This is how deep change takes root, not through sudden transformation but through repeated rewiring of your mind and actions. When you change your patterns, you change your life at the structural level. Ultimately, the number one secret to taking control of your life is understanding that transformation begins from within but manifests through daily action. You do not take control in one dramatic moment, you take control in small consistent choices, choosing discipline over distraction, choosing courage over fear, choosing clarity over confusion, choosing growth over comfort. Life responds to the energy you bring, the decisions you make, the habits you build, and the standards you set. You become powerful when your inner story aligns with your outer actions and when your actions align with the person you are becoming, not the person you've been. Control isn't about predicting the future but about preparing yourself for it. It's about becoming mentally stronger, emotionally centered, and intentionally focused so that no matter what life brings, you navigate it with direction and purpose. The moment you realize you are not a victim of circumstance but the creator of meaning, choices, and momentum, that is the moment your life shifts from wandering to mastery. And from that point onward, you don't just live life, you lead it.